Rod, there's a question here about how you measure your lean body weight as opposed to your total body weight to calculate the amount of protein required.
Can I flick that to one of you guys, because you probably do it on a more regular basis?
I'll take that one initially. So it's not what your body weight is now, it's what, if you're on one of those standard graphs, we would expect your body weight to be. So it's, you might weigh 140 kilograms now, but if you're 6 foot tall and we only expect you to weigh 80 kilograms, what we do is base it on the 80 kilogram number. So that, and then you work out, well, okay, at 80 kilograms, I should be having about 1 gram per kilogram per day, 0.7, 1.5, depending on what your requirements are. And then you work out, so 80 kilograms means 80 grams of protein. So multiply that by 5, that's 400 grams of steak, fish, or whatever it is that you're going to eat in that 24-hour period. But we try not to be too prescriptive with that, because you have to be able to adjust what you eat up or down depending on how hungry you are. But you just have to be careful. If you're one of these people that's really metabolically unwell and has lots of insulin resistance, increasing your protein causes an insulin response.
So I'd probably just further that a little bit. If you're asking the question, how much protein do you need, then you're having too much. So we know for the basal physiological needs of the body for protein, it probably is only about 0.6 or 0.7 grams per kilogram of lean muscle or lean mass per day. For an average athlete, a power athlete, we know that 1.2 grams per kilogram per day, even with resistance training, is sufficient to support their needs. Now, most anybody in the community on a standard diet is getting well in excess of that.
Can you give an indication of how much that is? Is that 200 grams of steak, or is it 3 eggs a day? Can you put it in perspective, in real food terms?
Yeah.
Okay, to get to 90 grams, breakfast, 3 eggs and some bacon. That's going to get you about 30 grams of protein. Lunch, medium's tin of tuna, maybe some nuts, that's about 175 gram of tuna. That's going to get you about 35 grams. And dinner at night time, you're going to have a piece of steak. And that's maybe 150 grams, something like that. That's a fair bit of protein to be eating, but that will get you to 90 grams, which would be roughly 1.5 grams of protein level body mass. So it's a fair bit of protein. The impression I have is that people who get stuck and are not travelling well can't get the weight loss they want, upping their protein, and a number of the other low-carb doctors who prescribe this seem to find that is a good way to go, more rather than less. Of course, there is individual variation.
But the other thing about the protein is that there's protein and there's protein. So for example, if you're going to be eating chicken, you don't want to eat the chicken breast because that has very little fat in it and lots of protein. You want to be eating the chicken thigh or the chicken leg with the skin, so you maximise the amount of fat you're getting with the protein. Same with the steak. You don't want a lean piece of steak. You want that fattiest piece of steak you can possibly get. And when everyone else at the table is cutting their fat off, you take it and you eat it. And then you add some butter onto it as well. So you don't need that much protein if the fat comes with the protein.
Is there an issue with having too much protein and then spiking your insulin levels?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there are different situations. If you've got diabetes or pre-diabetes, you're tending in that direction. Higher protein is going to upset it's going to make you require, it's going to push your glucose up. On the other hand, if you don't have that problem and weight loss is your issue, and you're looking to achieve satiety by eating more protein in that context, it's a good thing. So it depends really what your individual goals are.
So if I could just add a little bit to that. So protein comes in, there's 20 or 21 odd amino acids that make protein, and each of them has a slightly different effect on the body. Overall, they're what we call gluconeogenic, they make glucose, and insulinogenic, they release insulin. And if you think about protein increasing insulin, that's normally a good thing. If you're healthy and you eat protein and it makes insulin, that shunts those amino acids into muscle. That's anabolic, that's helping the building blocks of the tissue. But if you're then diabetic and you have elevated blood sugar, that same insulin rise from protein that is good in a healthy person is making you fat in a diabetic person. So as Rod said, it's horses for courses. You need to understand where your metabolism is at, and also understand that there's a differential effect of amino acids. Certain types of protein sources will have a bigger effect on your insulin and on your blood glucose than others.